Hi everyone, welcome back to Swarm TV. It's great to have you here in the hive with us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you like what we do. We're going to get a little political today and take a look at the highly anticipated $1.2 trillion Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, known as the IIJA, which was passed into law with the stroke of President Biden's pen on November 15, 2021. It's the largest federal investment in the nation's infrastructure in US history, and boy was it overdue. The American Society of Civil Engineers assesses the state of infrastructure across the country every 4 years. It's a stringent process, looking at 17 major infrastructure categories with each awarded a letter grade, A through F. And for nearly 20 years, nothing better than a D grade was awarded.
Your infrastructure is primitive.
Finally, however, with the IIJA being passed, there'll be a healthy injection of money to actually make an impact in the 17 categories which make up the infrastructure space. So we could soon see a marked improvement in the American Society of Civil Engineers reports. But to put an even finer point on this, from a climate standpoint, First Street Foundation recently reported that roughly 1 in 4 critical pieces of infrastructure, like police stations, fire stations, hospitals, airports and wastewater treatment facilities, which number some 36,000, face significant risk of becoming inoperable in flood conditions. In addition, 23% of all road segments, which is nearly 2 million miles of roads, are at risk of becoming impassable. And 17%, which is 72,000 individual pieces of all social infrastructure, like schools, museums, government buildings, face operational risks as a result of flooding. For some context around this report, First Street is a non-profit research and technology group working to define the risks which climate change brings to the door of the United States, so they know their stuff. And flooding is both the most frequent and most costly disaster occurring in the US. The devastating flooding which has hit the Appalachia region of Kentucky, Las Vegas, Gardner, Montana, Death Valley, Missouri, and Yellowstone is, unfortunately, a perfect illustration of this and of the dire need for fast action. The words unprecedented or the phrase 1 in 1,000 year are no longer applicable to these events. So it's no surprise then that flood mitigation and resilience for roads, bridges, buildings and coastal areas is high on the agenda, with available funds in excess of $10 billion for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, and the Army Corps of Engineers. The infrastructure bill has been talked up from many perspectives, including climate change mitigation, resilience and adaptation. In fact, Subtitle D under Division A and Title I solely relates to climate change and refers to such things as grants for increased EV charging and refueling infrastructure, truck emissions reduction at port facilities, carbon reduction programs from replacing streetlights and traffic control devices, or leasing zero emissions construction equipment and vehicles, and a congestion relief program, to name only a few of the plans laid out. Make no mistake, reading through these, they are excellent pathways for truly making headway on decarbonising surface transportation. There are genuinely loads of plans within this document which pave the way for better control of the climate crisis. So here's some examples of those, which we found most interesting and innovative. Section 11123, Wildlife Crossing Safety, $350 million in road crossings to improve habitat connectivity. Section 11521, Stormwater Best Management Practice Reports. Section 11528, Pollinator-Friendly Practices on Roadsides. Section 22105, Rail Restoration and Enhancement Grants. This includes addressing the maintenance backlog and modernising the system with $66 billion, the largest investment in passenger rail since Amtrak was born. Section 30007, Public Transit Innovation, including $39 billion in investment to modernise the transit portfolio and bring zero emissions options to all, including communities of colour. Section 40207, Battery Processing and Manufacturing. Section 40208, EV Battery Recycling. Section 40541, Grants for Energy Efficiency Improvements and Renewable Energy Improvements of Public Schools. Section 40551, Weatherization Assistance Program. That is, implementation of ways to better protect your home from extreme weather. Section 50105, Reducing Lead in Drinking Water. Currently, approximately 10 million households and 400,000 schools and childcare centres lack access to safe drinking water. The key highlights have, of course, been publicised widely, and rightly so. Some are particularly powerful, like reclaiming and restoring abandoned mines, capping orphaned gas and oil mines, and building resilient electricity grids. Texas, this one's especially for y'all, and expanding renewables and clean energy. This is a great focus on climate resilience and adaptation. Mitigation, however, we don't want to be the glass half empty here, but it should be noted that while the mitigation of emissions from transportation and even, dare we say it, that pipe dream of large-scale carbon capture is good and well, one fairly obvious place for mitigation is notably absent: reducing the burning of fossil fuels. The wording around wildfire mitigation is also a bit dubious, seemingly code for logging, making way for masses of cash to be paid to the timber industry, and there does seem to be the move to prevent transparent and just environmental reviews. So is the IIJA perfect? No. But, we've said it before and we'll say it again, perfect is the enemy of good. For right now, this IIJA answers many concerns around infrastructure and the relevance to climate change. So we'll happily take it. Thanks so much for joining us, Swarmers. We hope that you've taken some optimism from this. And remember, as voters in a democracy, use your voice. There's money to be spent on public transit, for example, so write letters to your local officials to help them pinpoint where this money could have some great impact. Don't forget to subscribe and share our channel, Swarmers. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sustainable.